What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Cory Sandhagen versus Umar Nurmagomedov happens this weekend, and boy, is a hell of a fight. Not only is it a hell of a fight, but it's also a hell of a card. We're going to be going over a couple of our predictions and some fights to look out for on this card before breaking down and giving our official prediction for Cory Sandhagen versus Umar Nurmagomedov at UFC Abu Dhabi. So guys, thank you for tuning into the channel. Welcome back. If you'd like to support the content, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and leave your thoughts down below as you go along watching this video, because of course it helps and I like to read your guys' comments after I'm done making the video. Also, you're more than welcome to subscribe to join the Nwadei MMA family and to see more videos like this one that pop up in the future. Now with that being said, let's go ahead and get right into my UFC Abu Dhabi predictions. So before we get into the main event, there's a couple of fights I want to talk about. First, starting off with Joel Alvarez versus Elvis Brenner. That's going to be an exciting grappling matchup. We have Elvis Brenner, who's a little bit more of a wrestler, versus Joel Alvarez, who's going to be putting on a beautiful display of jiu-jitsu. Majority of both of their wins have come by submission, but we all know what happens when two grapplers fight. A lot of times it ends up on the feet. So we could be in for a barn burner in grappling or striking. That should be an exciting fight to watch. And if you want my pick, I'll be going Joel Alvarez most likely. I just think he's longer, has better striking, and a more experienced style. I think Elvis Brenner's style of defending strikes leaves his back open to being taken. Going back to his fight with Guram Kutateladze, I wasn't that impressed with his striking in that fight. And with Joel Alvarez's ability to knock out Thiago Moises, I thought that was pretty impressive. However, it is still a very close fight, but there's my prediction. Next up on the card would be Mackenzie Dern versus Lupe Godinez. And this is a fucking amazing fight. I mean, two of the most exciting women fighters that we have in the UFC. Lupe Godinez training out of Team Lobo, recently started training with Alexa Grasso and them. Amazing boxing, great hands, she has good grappling. We saw that in the fight with Elise Reed where she just beat her to shit. I mean, I was really high on Elise Reed and she ragdolled her, she beat her up, she hit her to the body, hit her to the head. It was honestly a pretty good beatdown. And going against, obviously, Jiu-Jitsu World Champion Mackenzie Dern, who is going to be trying to come out more patient, more methodical in her approach, she was saying in a couple of interviews. And Mackenzie Dern is 2-4 in her last 6, fighting nothing but killers, of course. But her last 2 losses come into Amanda Lemos and Jessica Andrade, 2 hard power punchers who have great boxing and good takedown defense. This is kind of like the same style matchup against Lupe Godinez. Good takedown defense, great boxing. Her takedown defense could use some work coming off of her fight with Virna Jandiroba. Was able to beat her in a unanimous decision doing what Jandiroba does. But you know someone who has beaten Virna Jandiroba? Mackenzie Dern. Mackenzie Dern has wicked grappling. I mean, if she does take the methodical and smart approach, actually looks to slip strikes and get into her takedown entries, like similar to like you saw from John Jones and Cyril Gane. If she can do that and take very minimal damage coming off of 2 very brutal losses, if she gets Lupe Godinez down, it'll be magical to watch her jiu-jitsu on the ground. I'm a big fan of Mackenzie Dern's jiu-jitsu and her fighting style. Very exciting. Even on the feet, she likes to sling them and throw them, but she's working on being less emotional, so we'll see how that one's gonna play out. Lupe Godinez, though, is very calm, cool, and collected, so I don't think that we'd see a first round finish. If it even does get to the ground early, I think she'll be able to stay calm and patient, and with that first round energy, we'll be able to survive the first round. But if she gets taken out multiple times within the first 2 rounds, man, Mackenzie Dern's a pretty safe bet. Next, we have Tony Ferguson versus Michael Chiesa. By the way, Nick Diaz and Vicente Luque is off of this card. They're looking to reschedule for a later date, but Nick Diaz has some travel issues. Not sure what that's all about. Dana doesn't really know what that's all about. So we're not going to be seeing Nick Diaz, unfortunately, on this card. But we are seeing Tony Ferguson versus Michael Chiesa. Tony Ferguson has lost his last 6 in a row. 6 or 7, fuck. But his last one coming to Paddy Pimblett. A lot of people were disappointed in his performance, but I think surviving a first round like how he survived and being able to touch Paddy up a little later, it wasn't too bad of a showing. Now, I do think he's been changing up his coaches a little too late in his career and has been trying to get better technically a little too late in his career. I thought he should have done that earlier in his career, but going against a guy like Michael Chiesa, I actually like this style matchup for him. I mean, it's a guy who focuses mainly on his wrestling and his jiu-jitsu, and Michael Chiesa doesn't really have the striking to go along with it. I think Tony can make this really nasty on the feet, force him into some wrestling exchanges, and that's where Tony thrives. He thrives in that chaos. He thrives being bloodied up and being able to bloody someone up with elbows and creating scrambles and getting them tired. I've seen Michael Chiesa get tired multiple times in the octagon. I think this is a winnable fight for Tony, man. I think that taking this fight, him saying it's not his last fight in Abu Dhabi on the other side of the planet against a guy who hasn't really been all that active, has been spending majority of his time like commentating and whatnot, that's a winnable fight. I'm gonna take Tony Ferguson on this one. Now getting into what was the co-main event in Marlon Vera versus Deiveson Figueiredo, I'm taking Deiveson Figueiredo. I think that his calf kicks are gonna play a big role. I also think that Deiveson's been playing this whole bantamweight run very smart. He's been using a lot more wrestling, but he hasn't been forcing takedowns. He's been timing them, and then when he gets to the back, on anyone's back, he's extremely dangerous. Now Marlon Vera's been working with some very good guys. He's been working with the Mendes brothers on his jiu-jitsu. He's already been a black belt in jiu-jitsu for some years now. However, I haven't really seen a black belt level of grappling from him, and I think Deiveson's grappling is better. Marlon, however, is the bigger fighter. He's going to be longer, and Deiveson does keep his hands very low. I think Deiveson could run into a couple of elbows and knees if he isn't patient, but patient Deiveson Figueiredo, I think, beats a patient Marlon Vera. But if Marlon Vera comes out trying to invoke that carnage from round one, which I don't think he's necessarily going to do, we could see a fight of the night right there. I think we're definitely seeing a fight of the night, and that would make it a much more even matchup in my opinion. But if both fighters fight like how they have been fighting, I'm going to be taking Deiveson Figueiredo. And now the short notice co-main event, Sharputin Magomedov versus Michal Oleksiejczuk. Michal is coming off of 2 first-round losses, but it's not indicative of how good he really is. He's a really good striker, and to be honest, I picked him beating Michel Pereira at UFC 299, but Michel Pereira has just shown levels to his game. Honestly, I think he's one of the best middleweights in the world. He even looks big for middleweight, but he was fighting at welterweight. That's crazy to me. I think he's one of the best fighters in the world right now to this day. He did get dropped. He was hurt to the body from Michel Pereira, and Kevin Holland was able to submit him with an armbar off his back after getting dropped by him. So, like I said, they're not really indicative of his fighting style. He has a very good striking. He's a very good kickboxer, but he's not as good as Sharputin. I'm just gonna say that right now. Sharputin is gonna hit you hard. He's definitely gonna hit you in the body. I think that Oleksiejczuk does have a soft body, and a couple of knees or hard body kicks there is gonna change the fight, similar to the way it did in the Michel Pereira fight. So I'm taking Sharputin on this one. He's also been very active. He's fighting in the only place he can fight in Abu Dhabi, considering he has one eye. But we'll see if Oleksiejczuk will be able to take advantage of that and out kickbox him for 3 rounds. Now getting into the main event, what we've all been waiting for. Cory Sandhagen versus Umar Nurmagomedov. Guys, I've been waiting for this one for a while. Man, these are, in my opinion, 2 uncrowned champions. The bantamweight division is so stacked. That's why the bantamweight division is the best division in the UFC, in my opinion. Comment down below which division you think's the best, but I'm taking the bantamweight division all day, every day. I mean, we have Merab and Sean O'Malley scheduled to fight at the Sphere. That's 2 champions in their own right. Yes, Aljamain Sterling did leave the division, but he's one of the greatest bantamweights of all time. We have Petr Yan, who just got a win over Song Yadong, another savage. We just talked about Deiveson Figueiredo, former flyweight champion, coming up to fight Marlon Vera, someone who just fought for the title. Like I said, best division in the world. But then we have Umar Nurmagomedov, who hasn't been able to really get a top flight fight. He really has been unproven in the octagon against top flight talent. Now, he's beaten some good guys, right? He beat Brian Kelleher, that was a good win. Raoni Barcelos, a good win as well. But those are the only guys who are really willing to fight him, who have a name and a skill set that I'm actually appreciative of. Everyone else, it just seemed like they were throwing the lamb to the wolves. Cory Sandhagen is a real fucking threat, and this is almost similar to when Sean O'Malley got the #1 contender match against Petr Yan. People will call it Dagestani privilege or Dana White privilege in Sean O'Malley's case. But at the end of the day, if people don't want to fight you, like they don't want to fight Umar Nurmagomedov, you should be thrown at the top. And then hopefully one of those top 5 contenders is going to fight you, like a Cory Sandhagen. Cory Sandhagen, by the way, is a savage for taking this fight. He should have gotten a title shot after beating Marlon Vera. He should have gotten a title shot after beating Rob Font. Injuries and I guess lack of calling for it really held him back. But I mean, this dude was calling for Umar, he was calling for Rob, he was calling for all the hardest fights before even getting the belt. He is a true gladiator in this division. And enough talking about who each fighter is, let's go ahead and talk about their styles a little bit and why they're so feared. Now, both of these guys are really good strikers. Umar Nurmagomedov is a lot more of a kicker. He likes his traditional kicks. He'll go round kick, push kick, and try and set them up with each other. But what a lot of people don't know, and I might break down his style showing you guys his system. Let me know if you want me to show an in-person breakdown of Umar Nurmagomedov's striking system on the channel, because you guys know I like to break down fights like that. But essentially what he does is he looks to control the kicking range by throwing all these hard, nasty kicks, very Taekwondo-esque. It'll slip up right around your guard. He also likes to set up his hands with his kicks, so he'll kick first and then throw punches, which got him his knockout win over Raoni Barcelos. But what he really likes to do is he likes to make people cross that void super fast, and when they do, that's when he shoots under for his takedowns. And of course, like every other Dagestani, he can wrestle his fucking ass off. And he can also grapple. It's not just wrestling. It's not like a Mateusz Gamrot. He has high level jiu-jitsu, high level wrestling, and also high level striking. What he does lack though, I think, is in the boxing range. And nobody's really been able to force him to use the boxing range all that much, other than the flash in the first round in his last fight where he got dropped being in the boxing range trying to turn away from a punch. However, going against Cory Sandhagen, he can be forced into some pretty dangerous spots given his style. But I'll break that down in a second, because another thing that I think is going against Umar Nurmagomedov in this case is that he's never been 5 rounds. Not in the octagon, at least. Actually, I don't think ever in his career. Now, he's not lacking on experience because he had a huge amateur background in combat sambo, which is pretty much MMA, and then he's training with world-class fighters every day in the gym. But he's never fought a Cory Sandhagen. He's never even sparred a Cory Sandhagen, I don't think. And both of these guys being movers, it's going to be a beautiful sight to watch. Now on the other side with Cory Sandhagen and his style, based off of his fights, Cory Sandhagen is a guy who manipulates space the best I've ever seen. He'll jab you from the outside, he'll just touch you, and as soon as you commit, he does the same thing Umar does. As soon as you cross that void, he'll either throw a flying knee, he likes to throw a step-in knee, he might blitz in with a cross. He's a lot more active with his hands than Umar, or as we saw in the Marlon Vera and Rob Font fights, he can also mix it up. He can wrestle very well, and he has good jiu-jitsu as well. Now, is his grappling as polished as Umar Nurmagomedov's? I don't think so. But where he can provide problems, I believe, against Umar is not only is he willing and does he have the pride to mix up the wrestling exchanges and him actually go for takedowns himself, but I think playing it even more smart, he has the stance switches. And going against a guy like Umar or a wrestler, the most annoying thing for them to go against is a guy who's constantly switching stances, going to southpaw, going orthodox, kicking the legs, side kicking the knees, throwing that jab, keeping that jab busy in your face from both stances, not letting you know what's gonna happen. Then as soon as you overcommit, a knee's coming your way, a push kick's coming your way, he's constantly stabbing you to the body, left hook straight, stand outside the void, waiting for you to commit, or crossing that void with something hard to the body, as Cory Sandhagen does. I mean, he is a master at manipulating range, and something that I think is really going underrated in this fight is that even if Umar is able to get him to the ground, let's say worst case scenario, gets him down to the ground first round, one thing that the Dagestanis do have issues with is going against guys who leg lock, right? That whole sambo style, they don't allow heel hooks. They only allow straight ankle locks. Well, Cory Sandhagen, a lot of what he does is he'll attack upper body submissions like the triangle, the arm bar, and things like that off of his back. But then As soon as you start standing up or trying to stack him and defend that, he'll go after the legs. He'll go for heel hooks, he'll outside reap, get into the saddle positions. For my jiu-jitsu guys who know what those are. And you saw him blow out TJ Dillashaw's knees. You saw how he dealt with TJ Dillashaw's wrestling. To be honest, I thought he won that fight. And even if you don't think he won that fight, he learned a lot from it and was able to hurt TJ very bad over the course of 5 rounds. And this is a guy who was a former champion who had that 5-round experience. Another thing about Cory that's very scary is that he does not get tired. His nickname's the Sandman for that reason alone. He can really drown you in there. Not just physically, but with the mental fatigue as well. Him constantly throwing feints and things like that. However, I think if Umar can really shut down Cory Sandhagen, if he can get Cory's respect of his hands, look to set up a lot of low kicks, get him backed up against the cage, and look to set up his kicks with his hands, I think that's where Umar will have the most success. And then not being reactionary with his takedowns, but rather setting them up with his hands as well, or even with his kicks, but offensively. If he's reacting to Cory Sandhagen's movements and space control in order to shoot his takedowns, I'm afraid he's gonna eat a knee or something devastating to the knees, like a side kick. But if he's more offensive with his takedowns, he's punching, coming forward, putting him against the cage and bringing him down, that's going to be a little different. And I think if he can get Cory Sandhagen against the cage and look to press him there with his grappling, he'll have a lot more success in this fight. But I can't help but think that Cory Sandhagen does have the recipe to defeat these Dagestani fighters, or even just Umar Nurmagomedov himself, because he is different than all the rest of the Dagestanis. Umar is one of the best fighters on the planet, but then again, so is Cory Sandhagen. And the beauty about this sport, we get to find out who's better. So guys, I'm going to be choosing Cory Sandhagen. I think he'll win by unanimous decision. It's hard to see either fighter being finished, but you never know in this sport. They're just both so good defensively that I think that it's going to be a fun 5-round fight to watch. But guys, let me know what you guys think. Let me know your comments and your predictions down in the comment section below. Hopefully you liked this video. Leave a thumbs up if you did. And as always, stay safe, stay blessed. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.